Today we will see what is data aggregation and how it is useful in wireless sensor network. In very large wireless sensor network, typical data collection techniques are not feasible solution, as they overflow the network with too much data and exhaust its energy resources too quickly. There are several possibilities to minimize the traffic in very large wireless sensor network. You can aggregate the data on its way to reduce the number of packets. You can organize the network into sub-networks and let the sub-networks decide what to do with the data. Even last but not the least, you can reduce the data produced at the individual nodes in the first place. We will discuss all of these techniques and their properties in this lecture. Very first, we will see what is data aggregation. Data aggregation is the compiling of information from database with intent to prepare combined database for data processing. Data aggregation is any process in which information is gathered and expressed in a summary form for a particular purpose, such as the statistical analysis. A common aggregation purpose is to get the more information about the particular groups based on the specific variables. Data aggregation aims to reduce the power consumption in wireless sensor networks. It aims to combine and summarize the data packets of several nodes so that the amount of data transmission is reduced. In short, we can say that data aggregation reduces the number of transmissions, thereby improving the bandwidth and energy utilizations in wireless sensor network. There are different techniques that can be used to aggregate the data or to compress the data. We will see first clustering techniques. What is clustering? Clustering was one of the first techniques applied to very large networks. The main idea is to organize the network into smaller sub-networks so that the data can be collected and analyzed in a location restricted way. Means only some important or aggregated data comes to the final network where the sync is available. This idea you can analyze and represent it in this figure. In this type of clustering, we differentiate between the role of different individual nodes. The cluster members, these are the simple nodes which sense some phenomena, which is shown by using a white circle in the figure. They send their data to their cluster heads. The cluster members belongs to a single cluster heads. But what is cluster heads? Cluster heads are the local sink which gather all the information of their cluster members, which is shown by using the gray circle. Several options are possible here and depends on the applications also. Cluster head sends everything through a more powerful link to a final data storage place. Then aggregate or compress the data and then send it through the sensor network to a global sink. Or there may be chances that analyze the data and report to the sink. The sink, it's sometimes called as the global sink, is a single node in the network which gather all the information from all nodes in the network. To understand more clearly, let us see what is the difference between clustering a large network and deploying several small ones. When deploying several small networks, they will be independent of each other, and at the same time the engineer needs to make sure that they do not interfere with each other. This approach is rather bulky and inflexible also. Whereas in a large network, you can take the advantage of all nodes and allow the nodes to cooperate to achieve their goals. The challenge is that the network is too big to be handled by normal data collection protocols. Therefore, the main objective of clustering is to save energy and to avoid the data congestion in the network. Here, the main assumption is that if you try to route all of the data of all nodes to a single sink, then at least some of the nodes will completely congested. That is, the ones may be close to the sink and that their batteries will be drained too fast. Furthermore, it is important to see that which are the clusters heads and how they are selected and managed. So these things we need to consider for random cluster. The clustering. Now let us see the random clustering. It is the simplest approach to the clustering. It selects the cluster heads from all available nodes randomly. A protocol like this is a leech protocol, and it was the first clustering protocol. In fact, it was the first routing protocol as well. Before the leech protocol, there existed the assumption and the concept that all sensor nodes communicate directly with the sink in a single hop. But it creates a lot of problems in the wireless sensor network while communicating, and therefore leech protocol was a popular protocol that is always used in the wireless sensor network. How it works? Let us see. Every node throws a dice and decides whatever to become a cluster head or not with some probability epsilon. If it becomes a cluster head, it advertises itself to all nodes around. Then non-cluster heads nodes decide which cluster head to join by selecting the best communication link, which also offers the possibility to select a lower transmission power. Then nodes start sending their data to their cluster heads in one hop directly, and cluster head sends it to the sink again in a single hop. In order to not drain the batteries of the cluster heads too fast, cluster heads change over a time. Thus, it saves the energy as well as communication is also better in between the cluster head and the sink and the members and the cluster heads. This procedure is repeated regularly to achieve the good results. What are the advantages of the Leech protocol? The advantage of the Leech protocol and its subsequent protocols and optimization is that it is simple and flexible. It can be easily extended to also work with the fixed transmission power and several hops to the cluster heads or from cluster heads to the sink. However, it also has several disadvantages. First of all, the random selection of cluster heads cannot guarantee any uniform distribution of the cluster heads in the field. Thus, some areas will have many cluster heads, but some will have none. This results in a very unbalanced transmission cost in the network as shown in figure. In this figure, some cluster is having lot of members, nodes, whereas few is having very less numbers. So the members are not uniformly shared with all cluster heads. That is where the problem. Another problem comes from the fact that in really large network, even with the maximum transmission power, the nodes cannot reach all other nodes. Thus, the original version of the algorithm might leave some areas without cluster heads at all, and also without data reporting for a long periods of time. A remedy was introduced where a node throws the dice again if it does not hear about the cluster head. However, this results in too many cluster heads and again in higher energy expenditure. Another disadvantage of the approach is its jumpy behavior. To save the energy on the cluster heads, the protocol selects new one. As we have discussed, you need the multi-hop versions to ensure that all nodes are connected to the global sinks through the cluster heads. Thus, every time the cluster head changes, you need to restart the routing procedure as well as all existing routes becomes unstable. Now let us look at the nearest sink. Another possibility to tackle communication problems in large network is to install more than one sink. This means more than one node in the network serves as a gateway to the final storage place. Imagine that all cluster heads have an upload link to the database and are thus pre-selected as a cluster heads. Exactly as for the global sink, these multiple sinks have bigger batteries and thus less energy problems. The main task of the clustering algorithm is how to select the cluster head for each individual nodes. And the solution is relatively simple. Each cluster head should announce itself as a sink. This information is uploaded as a normal routing information at every hop. In other words, you run the sink discovery procedure for each of the sink individually. Every node receives several sink announcements from the various neighbors. It simply selects the sink which looks best depending on the used routing metric and start using the same ones. It can also keep a secondary choice in case something happens with its first choice. This implementation has a disadvantage that the cluster heads are actually fixed and need some special hardware. This renders the network more expensive than using only normal nodes. It can be also seen that several networks may be installed next to each other. This increases the installation and maintenance cost and lowers the flexibility of the networks. On the other hand, this is perhaps the best solution for the practitioners also. It offers redundancy for the sink. If one fails, the others can take over its duties, even if at higher communication cost. Overall, it is simple, stable, and well balanced. Then next type of clustering is the geographic clustering. The clusters can be geographically organized, meaning is that one cluster is built by geographically close nodes. This leads to the idea that you can also use direct geographic information to build the clusters. The protocol itself is quite complex, as it relies on the reinforcement learning to select the best cluster head in the geometric clusters. First, the network is cut into clusters according to the geographic coordinates. Let us understand with the help of diagram. This figure represents a sample network where the cluster size is said to be 100 by 100 meters. The remaining challenge is to select the cluster heads inside the geographical clusters. You could select them randomly, similar to the Leach algorithm. Each node throws a dice and decides whether to become a cluster head or not. If a node does not hear about the cluster head in its own cluster, it retries the procedures. Another possibility is to exchange the IDs, that is the identification numbers, of all nodes in the cluster and to select the lowest ID as the first cluster head, then the second lowest as the next cluster head, and so on. Also, the geographic location can be used as a criteria for selecting the cluster heads. For example, the node closest to the sink. The problem of selecting a cluster head in a geographically restricted area is simpler than in a large network. Both random selection and the deterministic selection work well, as the communication area is small and there is no need to balance the energy. So we have seen that all of the previous clustering techniques tackle the problem of large network at the level of organizing and splitting the communication flow. However, there is also a possibility to process the data on the way to the sink, combined with the clustering or not, and thus to reduce the amount of data incoming to the sink.